Welcome to Forever Fierce. I'm Catherine Grace O'Connell, and we are shooting here live at FierceCon LA. And it's bright here in the morning outside. We have not done this. We are in this beautiful setting, and I am so delighted to introduce my guest today. My guest is Davidji. Davidji is a Hay House author. He is, I call him a meditation master. He apprenticed under Deepak Chopra and ran the Chopra Center Meditations for, 10 years?
Yeah.
And then kind of went off, and I met you actually when you went off on your own.
Yeah.
So now you're the big kahuna. You and Peaches. You and
Peaches.
Peaches is the good, okay, so you're the Peaches follower. Peaches is the dog, if you guys don't know about Peaches. So anyway, I'm really, really delighted to introduce you. And here is his latest book, Sacred Powers. You are a Hay House author. You are a meditation master. You are a Peaches owner.
Actually, I think inside this book.
There we go. You don't go anywhere. I believe these were also in the meditation retreat. So if you guys haven't heard, this is Peaches. And Peaches is kind of the star of the show. We had to leave Peaches at home today because G's got a full morning. We've got him working, but this is Peaches. And I love actually everything you do. Let there be peace on earth. Let there be peaches on earth. And of course, a beautiful saying here. So let's dive in. Oh my gosh, you are out there really. You're a meditation master. You're just this amazing human being, raising consciousness, bringing light everywhere. But it wasn't always that way. You had a shift.
First of all, you're so kind to say these nice things about me. I had a shift. I started meditating when I was in college, then sort of let that slip away, got deep into the corporate world, and then realized that I didn't realize there were tools for balance. And so balance was slipping away. I was feeling empty, purposeless. There's so many things that we feel or don't feel when we're truly so deep into something that we feel is like tearing at our soul. And I think I was just working just for the money or for the prestige or for this whatever, but it wasn't soul work. And at a crossroads of emptiness and purposelessness, I left that world and sort of began my eat, pray, love journey without the eating and the love.
You did do that. So I want to really get into that experience because you talk about it and it's really visceral. You were on Wall Street, the typical, like in that financial world, which I was in the financial world too, and feeling miserable. And one day you were leaving the offices and you were walking down and there was this hand that popped out from a box on the street.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful.
Yeah, I was walking past a row of cardboard boxes that people were living in, and this hand reached out, grabbed my pant leg, sort of like pulled me down. And normally I would have just like shook it off, but for some reason in this moment, I just surrendered to the moment. And this guy said, "What's going to be on your tombstone?" And that was just a fairly reflective question. And from that moment, everything in my life shifted. We shared a few more words. Everything stopped. The sounds of the traffic stopped. The sounds of the people stopped. It was like we were the only two people in existence. Time stopped. And then I sort of went on this mission to find answers, to connect with the guru. Ultimately realizing that the guru rests inside.
Right.
But I had to go all the way to Oxford to meet Deepak Chopra and then to India and tour around there to find that out. And it was really while I was resting in a hammock in a cashew forest in Kerala where I suddenly realized, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita and I suddenly went, this ancient 1,000-year-old text says Yogastha Kuru Karmani, establish yourself in the present moment and then perform action. And that was like, well, that's just the answer. If I can just get still enough, I could hear the whispers, in my heart, the whispers of God.
Your own, that voice becoming through you, through your own internal voice.
Of course.
Yeah, the voice inside.
Our voice, we probably know the answer to every single question we could ever ask. Ever. But we don't necessarily give ourselves the opportunity to slow down the swirl or the noise outside of us. So of course we're just hearing chatter, and we're just hearing just a lot of other people's voices and voices in our head, but not always really hearing that voice in our heart. And we can only do that if we really quiet ourselves down. So that was my spark to come back and live a life of connecting to the stillness and silence that rests within. And at a certain point in my development on that path, it became obvious that I had to share it with people. It's like, this stuff is too cool. I have to share it. And I became like this crazy evangelist, and that never works.
a little, you just swing a little,
yeah. People
know,
like,
right?
you need to meditate.
Wake up!
And then I figured, let me just slow that down. Let me just live it. And then if people are interested, they'll follow that, into their own hearts.
So when we were growing up, you said you got into it a little bit as a teenager. I certainly didn't. It really was pretty, not mainstream. I grew up in a more, traditional culture. So today, you see meditation everywhere. It's become really part of the culture. Yet, we still live in a very rush, like frenetic. So what is going on?
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I did grow up in a kooky household. Not all the time, but my mother had a Ouija board.
A Ouija board. We had a neighbor with a Ouija board.
Right, so my mother was like the neighbor with the Ouija board. We were that house. And but then I got involved in mergers and acquisitions, and that's very, very serious work, and very, and here we are at this point, in this evolution of these teachings. I remember maybe it was 10 years ago that Ellen DeGeneres did that American Express commercial where she was meditating and saying, what happened to that other sock that was in the dryer? The thoughts that were coming into her head. So that sort of like was the spark of it becoming somewhat mainstream. But really what we're experiencing now is, it's hip, it's cool. Meditation is sexy at this point. So that attracts more people. Some celebrities are doing it, and that's waking people up or making them pay attention. People talk about it nonchalantly on TV and social media. But the catch is, in our society, it's sort of like everyone's looking for the shortcut, and there's no shortcut to meditation. So people are like, yeah, I love that meditation. And that's why I created the 16 seconds to clarity meditation, or 16 seconds to bliss, or tactical breathing if you're a cop or a member of the military, because people barely have that. Imagine, people are not running the world, or they're not, the president of the United States, or they're not Oprah, or Richard Branson, or whomever.
They have to make a living. They have to go out there.
They have to make a living, and they're like, I don't have time. I don't have 16 seconds, or I don't have 10 minutes. And the joke is, if you don't have 10 minutes to connect to yourself,
you're screwed.
And meditate, then you probably need 20. So, yeah, I mean, who are you? How important could you be? How busy could you be that you don't have 10 minutes of self-care? And this is really what I've been talking about now for the last 18 months, 2 years. This is really a self-care revolution. This is, if you're not taking care of yourself, then you're not serving anybody.
Isn't that the truth? And
meditation can be that core practice that nourishes your body, your mind, your soul in some context. So
I think our audience can really relate to that. I know me as a mom, and all the things that I was doing for everybody else, and then my kids are gone, and I was like, my whole world came crashing down. Like, who am I? I'm not only not taking care of myself, I didn't know who I was. Right. I think we have a real crisis out there of many people getting on these treadmills, like you on Wall Street. I did my own financial world, which is a complete misfit for me. And then there's this wake-up call, to who we really are.
Yeah, I think it's an important, and again, meditation will give you those answers. It's not the answer, it's a tool that can take you to that place within yourself, and so that you can get the answers. And I'm so convinced that if we know that there are tools, I didn't know that there were tools. I didn't, I had to like blow up my life and quit my job and go to India and in search of the guru, like that whole thing. But so no one else needs to do that. I've done that for them and proven, that's not really necessary. We need to just be gentle with ourselves, be kind to ourselves, and it's all about the practice. And since there are no shortcuts in this practice, we actually have to show up every day and do this thing.
And so there's a perception of meditation, like you go there, you close your eyes, and you just om, and you get peaceful. But no, there's a lot of thoughts, like what, 80,000 thoughts? I mean, there's a lot of thoughts. So what really is meditation, and what's that experience? Of course, for you, it's going to be different than it is for me.
It's going to be different for everybody. Fortunately, hopefully, we will all have between 60,000 and 80,000 thoughts a day. Thoughts alive,
boom,
no
boom,
thoughts,
boom, boom.
Flatlining. So thoughts are actually good. The catch is when we suddenly connect to the stillness and silence that rests within, when we can really quiet ourselves down, of course, the thoughts will be louder or more prominent, or we'll be paying more attention to them. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not that you don't have thoughts the other times and suddenly you have thoughts when you meditate, but when you meditate, suddenly you become so much more aware of everything. Everything appears Einsteinian, coming into nothingness.
It's that present moment, like real present moment.
Right.
And most of us don't actually even know what that is.
Well, we can
It's
do
vastly
it.
different.
We can do it right now, though. Everyone can actually connect to the present moment
In 16 seconds.
in 16 seconds. Sure. So think about something that's been bothering you this week. Don't go too deep. This is not therapy. So just something that's been disturbing you. Someone said they were going to do something, they didn't. Something was supposed to happen, it didn't. Something wasn't supposed to happen, it did. Get clear on that in your mind. And now close your eyes, and through your nose, take a long, slow, deep breath in. And watch that breath till it goes down into your belly. And when it gets there, hold it. And watch it. And witness it. Observe it. And now let it go. Follow it up your chest, into your throat, out through your nostrils again. Keep watching it. Keep exhaling. Keep witnessing as you continue to let that breath out. And now breathe normally. And open your eyes. And that was 16 seconds.
Yeah.
So in those 16 seconds, if you were playing along, I know you were playing along, hopefully you were playing along. In those 16 seconds, if you were playing along, you were not in the past, you were not in the future, but even more powerful, during those 16 seconds, if you were playing along, you weren't thinking about that issue or that irritation that I just asked you to think about. And that means that we can always drift our attention out of the past, out of the future, into the present moment where there's no fear, there's no desperation, there's no sadness, there's no regrets. In the present moment, that's where the magnificence and the richness of life is. Now, of course, don't take my word for it. You just experienced it. And so we know it works. And if we can cultivate those 16 seconds, do it 4 times, it's a minute, 20 times, it's 5 minutes, and suddenly you have a powerful tool when the phone rings and it's that person and you see them pop up on caller ID, when you're stuck in traffic, when you're struggling in a relationship or having a conflict at work. Like no matter what's going on in your life, maybe there's a giant truck driving by and it's blocking out all the words that you're saying. But as long as you can stay in the present moment, then you can make your next step with grace and ease. And it's all about our next step. And I firmly believe that there are a lot of tools that can get us still, but there's still so many things or activities. A lot of people say, oh no, gardening is my meditation, or sculpting, or pottery, or driving, or running, or washing the dishes, or drying the dishes. Those are all activities. They're present moment activities, but they're all activities. There's only one stillness. And we get to give it to ourselves. It's a gift that we give to ourselves.
And it's vastly different, because then we're connecting inside too, and that's, like you said, where the answers are. So that's different than an activity out here, no matter how peaceful it is.
Right. They say that the sage who assembled all things yoga, and you can't really talk about meditation without talking about yoga, because it had its arc as well, where people found it like kooky, and now everyone does yoga. So 2,000 years ago, the sage Patanjali said, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Oneness.
I won't try that.
Oneness is the progressive quieting of the fluctuations of the mind. So that's the definition of meditation. How beautiful that we have a tool that can help us, progressively quiet the fluctuations of the mind. Doesn't stop thoughts, doesn't, clear the mind. It just calms it a little bit, allowing us to be a little clearer. It slows it a little bit, allowing us to come up with a more creative solution. It really brings us to a space effortlessly that is the core of who we are. And that, I don't mean to sound woo-woo or kooky. This is truly, we're not our thoughts. We're not our body. We have a body. You know, we have 60,000 to 80 thoughts. But we are the space between those thoughts. You know, that's who we are, that space. Deeper, deeper, deeper still, we are pure, unbounded, infinite, whatever you want to call it, essence.
And it's that, you say, the space or the gap between our thoughts. Many of us, we feel like it's thought, 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 and there really isn't anything. But that's the trick in meditation, is creating space inside of ourselves.
Right, right. And it's already there. It's really accessing the space. So first we have to acknowledge that there's actually a space. And then we have to allow ourselves to go there. And we it's so obvious if you would just take a deep breath in and then let it go. Suddenly we realize, oh, there was a space between that inhale and that exhale. It's like a sliver, it's a millimeter, it's like paper thin, but there's a space there. So between all the obvious, subtle activities that we do, there actually is a space. And when we can, it's called a pattern interrupt in science, when we can connect to that space, rewire, that's it. Rewire and refire, you know, that comes back to that line that I read when I was laying in that hammock in that cashew forest in southern India, you know, yogastha kuru karmani. Establish yourself in the present moment and then perform action. This is about mindful performance. This is about achieving your dreams and desires. It's not about like hanging out on the couch and going, oh, it's a blissed out world and everything's perfect. No, no, no. Life is hard and it can be harsh as well. And what got us to this moment probably is not going to get us to the next moment. We need these tools to get us still, prep us, and then allow us to get really, really clear on what's my next step.
Well, I think what you said is really important, because there is this perception of when you get on the spiritual path, life just goes, no, 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 no. You become more awake and aware and you're more in control of the inner world, but it doesn't necessarily, translate to it more living, because we're more peaceful inside. But the spiritual work to me is the hardest work I have ever done, to really have to look inside myself, look at, like Cheryl talks about, those shadows and our inner child and all those wounds and that pain. So let's be real about, what happens when we go inside.
Yeah, we have to, the path to bliss is not necessarily blissful. And we have to acknowledge that and own that. And that's not why we're on it. We're on this path. You and I are on this path because we know there's something more magnificent that rests ahead, and we want to access that. I mean, that's why we're doing it. We woke up one morning and we said, I know there's more. I know there's more to this existence here. And I think, meditation can be that comforting, sweet, gentle tool that helps us go, oh yeah, there is something, and let me start moving in that direction. So a lot of people are expecting, they close their eyes and they follow their breath, and they're supposed to have
instant. Oh wow, life is like, so good and peaceful. I'm Oprah.
How come the Buddha didn't come visit me? How come Jesus wasn't whispering in my ear? And the reality is, really all you did was just close your eyes. And again, just the progressive quieting of the fluctuations in our mind. We know that if we went out, here we are in beautiful Redondo Beach, and if we went out on a boat into the water there, and let's say we took these, these pink quartz hearts, and we said, like, we're going to set an intention and throw them into the ocean. And so we go out into the ocean and we have our quartz hearts, but suddenly there's like the winds pick up and the water gets really, really choppy, and we toss our quartz hearts and the wind takes them away and we don't even see them land in the water. And the flip side is let's say we go to, a lake inland a little bit, do the same exact thing, and there's no wind and the water is totally flat. And if we took those same quartz hearts and like tossed them in, set intentions and tossed them into the lake, we would watch them, we would see them plip-plop, we would see the plip-plops of the plip-plop. And that level of subtlety is the difference between your mind on meditation and your mind, the unmeditating mind. So meditating doesn't bring you bliss, and it doesn't connect you to God's whisper instantly. What it does, though, is it gives you the strength and the tool to just slow down, and the world starts coming at you a little bit more slowly. So instead of that swirl intensifying, we can actually hear things a little more clearly. We can have these more creative solutions to life. We'll make better choices. We're all on the brink of a defining moment. And so this is going to help us be more creative and make the best decision from our highest, version, for lack of a better term.
I love that. Your version of meditation is a very beautiful and grounded version, which we need in this new age world where we think we're going to close our eyes and we're going to attract something, think something, and believe something.
Yeah, I think, yes, fun things can happen when you meditate. You could see colors or whatever. And if it feels good, hopefully you'll come back to it. But the reality is, you don't necessarily go to the gym to go like, oh my God, I love the gym. It makes me feel so good. No, you feel amazing after the gym. We go to the gym for the workout. We, are in constant prep mode. We've been in prep mode to get to this moment. All that stuff, all that glass we've crawled through in our life, all that heartache, all that trauma, that was prep for this moment. And now that we're here, let's take action. Let's do something amazing with that. Oh, and there's this tool to keep us on track, to help us from being, sucked into the drama, to help us from getting into that oh poor me, to get us from having fear because it's too confusing out there. So meditation can really allow us to be the calm amidst the chaos, the stillness inside the storm, and then we'll just live our life with greater grace and greater ease.
That's absolutely beautiful and profound, as you always are.
Too kind.
So you hit upon something that I really, really want to get back to, fear. Fear, fear, fear. What is fear? It feels really intense when you're in, I've had plenty of fear, I have PTSD, I'm very open about it. When I get into fear, the emotions kick and you get kind of crazed. So what is fear and how do we deal with fear?
Yeah, we're all human. It's a real emotion. It's important that we actually have the emotion. It prevents us from getting into trouble. We are hardwired with the hippocampus, which is the part of our brain responsible for learning, memory, spatial orientation. And we are hardwired with these two almond-sized things on both sides of the brain, really deep, called the amygdala. And the amygdala is our anxiety, fear, stress. What the amygdala really does is it senses what's my safe boundary in every situation. What's my safe physical boundary? What's my safe energetic boundary? What's my safe emotional boundary? And it's constantly doing that calibration. As we've evolved as humans and as our brain has evolved over really, really long time, we actually we have cultivated that part of us. Now, anytime we sense a threat to the physiology, fight flight kicks in, and that's really being triggered by the amygdala. Every time we're sensing a threat to our sense of self in this world as we walk around, so we're not worried about a mortal threat, but someone says something and it's mean, someone challenges us, suddenly we're faced with a reality. What if I run out of money? What if I die alone? What if I slip in the shower? What if I go to work and people laugh at my new outfit? What if people hate my new hair color? What if, we can go on and on and on. It's only, 100,000 times a day, those types of things. Two very, very real challenges about love and life and money and the future and all these things. So the amygdala is like kicking in all the time. So some of us could be living in this state of chronic stress because we're afraid. We're afraid to speak. We're afraid not to speak. We're afraid to hold on to that thing that we've been holding on to. We're afraid to let it out. We're afraid to let our voice be heard. We're afraid to talk too loudly. We can go on and on and on with all those aspects. And you and I have chatted about, that there's so many different ways to address fear or arrest fear. But I believe that we have a tool called our breath that no one on this planet uses enough.
Holding it.
And right, and no equipment necessary, and it's right here, and it can always allow us to suddenly, let me slow that, let me arrest the fight flight, let me arrest the surge of hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, glucagon that come surging into us. Let me slow that down a little bit so we don't have to make a big deal about it. We can always just go, oh, I've been holding my breath for the last 2 minutes. Let me take a long, slow, deep breath in.
It's crazy. I have spent much of my life holding my breath. Like I said, born into a world where I had PTSD, and it's like I didn't even realize it. So we have a whole community of midlife women. Obviously, we're here at FierceCon, and all these women are coming to be rewired and inspired, which you're an enormous part of that, as we're going to go in and have our beautiful meditation next. Midlife and this whole perception, we're working very hard to shift. Why is it? Why has it been so difficult for us to have a different perception? We've changed dramatically since we were growing up. What we saw with our parents and our grandparents. There's a reality and there's a perception. What do we do to shift it?
I'm a believer in raising the vibration of the planet by raising our own personal vibration. I think we need to always think globally but act locally. We have to be, that archetype.
Be the change.
We must be that. And there's so many agendas right now. There's an agenda. Someone said to me, last week, are you changing your Facebook page black for, I don't even know what it was. And I was like, I don't know. And then they said, well, yesterday you should have changed it purple. And I suddenly realized everyone's got an agenda. Neither of those two things were my agenda that day. I put a picture of Peaches, the Buddha princess, up because I think everyone should adopt their next pet. And suddenly I realized that's a cause really dear to my heart. And suddenly I start to realize if we own our agenda, like you are owning your agenda and being such an important leader in this movement, and all the participants, fierce participants in this process, that's their agenda too. And so I challenge people, I invite people to make the list of the top 3 to 5 things on your agenda, because it's so easy to get sucked into someone else's agenda. There's at least 30 of them that will overhear over the course of the day, and we're like, ooh, should I be supporting that or talking about that, or what am I doing here? I should be marching in this place or doing that thing. How about raise your own vibration? How about love yourself a little bit more? How about trust yourself a little bit more? How about lean hard in the direction of your dream? How about step really, really hard into that, one step at a time? How about trust your heart? How about undim your light? How about let your voice be heard? How about celebrate who you are? Those two, pick something. It doesn't have to be any of those things on that list. But if we can pick our own agenda, then that's how the world shifts.
So start here and allow that ripple. There's a power of the ripple effect. That's beautiful, and I like celebrate, because we're here to celebrate. We're here to celebrate women at Midlife and beyond, and women all over the world. We had a woman come as far as New Zealand who has her own midlife community. We had from the UK. We have all over the country.
The work you're doing is so profound and so expansive. And, in Sacred Powers, I talk about, the power of your ripple.
The power of the ripple, you do.
So
you talk about the power of the ripple. So where can people find you, the amazing work that you do, and you have some really wonderful meditations on your website.
Yeah, you can go to davidji.com. There's a couple of hundred free meditations. Also, you can follow me on or listen to meditations, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, iTunes, Tidal, pick it. It's wherever books or anything is sold.
And a retreat. How about a retreat? I got to tell you, it's life-changing, guys, and I know I've said this many times, but I'm 57. I came back. My friends were like, you got some work done, didn't you? You snuck away and got some. I'm kind of, yeah, I did, but not that kind of work. It was truly that transformative.
Well, this year, this will be the last year that I'm taking a group there, but every year we celebrate for a week in Maya Tulum on the Mexican Riviera.
Wow.
And we spend a week. It's the week after Thanksgiving, and tune up for the next year. So wherever that year has taken you, you can connect to that stillness and silence. You can make plans, set your targets, and then soar into the next year. And of course, you know, it's sort of like Redondo Beach a little bit, you know.
It's heaven right here. It's absolute heaven.
The breezes are balmy and the food's amazing and the water's warm. And we meditate, we dance, practice yoga, really connect to some timeless wisdom, get Mayan clay massages to sweat lodge type of stuff. And so,
I'm in. You sold me. And I'm putting it out there. My intention is to be able to do a Forever Fierce retreat with you there.
that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
I would love that.
Maybe we'll get my friend Cheryl Richardson there. Our friend
Yes.
Cheryl Richardson there too.
Love Cheryl.
We could do love Cheryl. So thank you so much for being here, and we got to go head in there. And we've risen, we've peed. Now we got to meditate.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Check out Davidji. Find some time to be still and get present and turn within. It's pretty darn life changing, and it's simple. So breathe. Cheers, beauties. Stay fierce.